Welcome back to the Spiritual Ride. I'm your host, Alyssa LeBlanc, and this week I'm going to share with you how to tap in and develop your spiritual gifts to help you manifest your best life. Because our spiritual gifts are what are guiding us to our next steps in order to manifest, timeline jump, quantum jump to that reality that we are desiring. Because our desires are a safe compass to follow. Our desires are telling us what is meant for us, what already exists on another timeline, and it's just up to us to follow those clues to get there. And our spiritual gifts are those clues. There are 4 main types of spiritual gifts, but you can just substitute that all for intuition. You might be clairvoyant. You see things, usually in your mind. You get pictures. Maybe this comes to you in dreams. Clairaudience. This is the biggest one for me. You might hear voices in your head, or you might actually overhear people talking about certain things and they are actually messages for you, but you feel you're guided mostly by what you hear. You might have clairsentience. A lot of spiritual people have this. This is a feeling about stuff. You might feel energy on other people, places, or things. You might even pick up a book and feel that there's information in it for you. You can feel vibes. Or claircognizance, you just know things. Downloads might drop in for you, where you suddenly get downloads of information that seem like they came out of nowhere, where you just have a knowing about something and you can't explain where it came from. So I believe that we all have all of these gifts. However, just because we have these gifts does not mean we have unwrapped them. And most of us have one of these stronger than the others. But the thing about these gifts is the more you tap into them, the louder they get. The more you tap into them, the more they are there for you. My 2 strongest gifts are clairaudience and claircognizance. I will often just get downloads of information where I suddenly know something and I can't explain why, but I know that it's truth, and I do hear things in my head. But the more that I started listening to them and paying attention to them and actually taking action on what these things were saying, the louder they got and the more they started working for me. The other thing is, the more I started listening to one of these gifts, sometimes I will have clairvoyance. I've shared in some other videos that my biggest quantum leap in my life came when I was having literal dreams about the life I'm living now. Completely, my life was like a 180, and I was dreaming. I was seeing things in my mind of how my life could be, and I didn't understand where it was coming from because I wasn't consciously trying to manifest that, and it didn't make any sense at the time. And now in my real life, I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what the dream was showing me. It was a feeling and it was also visuals. So the more I started paying attention to my other gifts, the more I started paying attention to my intuition, the stronger these gifts turned on. So how can you turn on your gifts? For me, they turned on the most during plant medicine because it connected me to a higher source. It connected me to my higher self, and it helped me heal myself. So I think the best way for you to turn on your gifts is 2 things. First of all, connect with God, source, the universe, connect with your soul. Do whatever you can to have a clearer channel to the divine, a clearer channel to your spirit guides, a clearer channel to your higher self, whatever resonates most for you. Some people resonate with angels and spirit guides. Some people resonate with their higher self. Some people resonate with God. There is something that is always speaking to you, that is within you, that is around you, that is you. And the more you can quiet your mind and get in clear connection with that, the more your gifts are going to turn on. And you don't need plant medicine to do this. For me, it was absolutely my path. I needed it. It got me here. But one of the most basic ways you can do this is to start with meditation. Some people think that they can't meditate, but it's just something you have to train your mind to do. You can start with 5 minutes a day of just closing your eyes and listening to your breath. Maybe prayer resonates with you. This is actually my favorite prayer book, The Dynamic Laws of Prayer. It has, I want to say 10 different kinds of prayer. This book basically shows you that prayer is not what we've been taught to believe. It certainly is not what I thought it was. Prayer is really about an energy, and it's more active than meditation. You can pray by, closing your eyes and getting into space and negating the things in your life that you no longer accept. You can pray by affirming the things in your life that you want to accept. You can pray by simply saying, God, angels, universe, help me with this. I need to see this different. Liam, ready and willing to see this differently. I give it over to you. Another way to really connect with your higher self is being in nature, because we are nature. And the more we're away from the distractions and, electronics and things that are affecting our vibration, the more we are connecting with our higher selves. Some people, exercise can also help. I get a lot of downloads when I'm running, but I do like to meditate first to get my mind clear. And I might ask for guidance and it won't come through while I'm meditating. And then an hour later, I'm outside running. And because my mind is not on it, downloads come in. So exercise can be a really great way to tap into your intuition because you're distracted. Some people get downloads in the shower. Reading spiritual books can help you connect with your higher self because they can open your mind and expand your awareness to what's really possible. You can learn based on mirror neurons where someone else has experienced something or had a spiritual awakening, or you're watching a video of somebody that's sharing something with you and something turns on within you that helps you connect to your higher self because you start to have more belief in the reality that, we're all guided, connected, and directed by source, which I fully believe to be true. I've seen on a number of mushroom trips how we are all the light and how we are literally connected to God, and we're all gods and goddesses, and we all have a connection to source. Like, we all have our own personal connection. So some people love tarot. Whatever makes you feel more connected, give more time and energy to that, and your gifts will start to turn on. And the second thing you can do is ask them to turn on. You literally speak out to your spirit guides and to your higher self. Hey, I need help with this. Hey, I'm worried about this. Hey, I don't know what to do about this. Talk about it like you're talking to your friend and let it go. And you will start to notice that depending on where your senses are the most heightened, you will either hear voices in your head, see things while you're dreaming, hear people having conversations, see a sign, a literal sign. You'll start to get messages, and it's really weird when it happens because you feel like, oh, this is not just me like looking for something. It like comes out of nowhere. And the more you start to pay attention to these signs, and like I said, the more you start to take action on what they tell you to do, the louder they get. It's almost like if you don't use it, you lose it. I think as kids, we were way more tapped in and way more connected to our gifts. And we, had imaginary friends, and we believed we could go to different realms. I don't know about you, but I was in love with the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This idea that you could just like open the door and like go to this other realm. And now when I do plant medicine, that's literally what I'm doing. I'm going to like a magical world that is like a different universe. And I think as a kid, we knew this stuff was like possible, but adults and stuff, they had been beaten out of them. So we stopped believing these gifts, or we told people our dreams and they told us that we were crazy. So even though the universe was always guiding us towards like our dream career or our dream love or where we most wanted to live, when people were telling us it wasn't possible, we stopped having belief in our guiding source, in our intuition. And so those gifts started to atrophy. If you don't use your gifts, you lose them. And when my gifts turned on, it wasn't like, oh, dump this person and move across the country. They started off with really small things. I remember when my clairaudience turned on, I think I had done ayahuasca a couple times. And I remember just like hearing a voice that said like, go to yoga. And I was like, I like fast workouts. I like running. I like hardcore stuff. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then it said it again, and it was like a voice, like not mine. And I started to go into yoga, completely changed my life. I was signed up for one course at some time, and I heard a voice that said, stop taking that course. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to stop. And then I was guided to something else that was helping me. I got what I needed from that program, and I was guided to something else that helped me manifest at higher levels. Or I think we also spiritually gaslight ourselves. Recently, for about a year, maybe 2 years, I knew that I should not hang around a certain friend of mine and was getting like bad feelings every time I was around them. But I was gaslighting myself that I was just making this up. And as soon as I set some boundaries and dropped this friendship, so many things came into my life. And my creativity exploded. A lot of other things that were connected with this friendship. I saw how I needed to learn how to set boundaries, and I needed to learn how to be in better energy, and that the energy around me was important. But I'd had a feeling whenever I was around them not to be around this person. Like, you feel what's good for you and what's not. Oh, I lied. That's not the second thing I was going to tell you to do. Halfway through this podcast, I was like, what was the second thing? And now I remembered what it was. All that is good. Do all that, speak it out loud, but that's kind of part one. The second thing you do to connect with your gifts is to heal your trauma. That is what the universe just wanted me to tell all those stories first. So when you heal your trauma, you're a clear channel for source to connect with you. You can hear it better. Because the other thing is, when you have a dysregulated nervous system, you're not really aware of what's good for you and what's not. Okay, this is my favorite example. I'll first say the quote and then I'll tell you how it applied in my own life. There's a quote that says, I saw it on Instagram, and it's like, what you are attracted to when you're unhealed will disgust you when you're healed. There was a period when I knew, because I was in my healing process, but I wasn't healed yet. And are we ever really healed? But I was like really far away from where I am now. And I started to know that anyone I was physically attracted to was toxic to me, was a trauma bond, because I started to recognize that I was only attracted to toxic patterns, to trauma bonds, to feelings of low self-worth, to all the childhood stuff I was trying to get away from. Like, you can meet your soulmate. You can meet your soulmate and not know they're your soulmate because you are not healed enough to recognize them. There's a period when I was, like I said, only attracted to people that treated me like shit, and like was in this like very karmic relationship on and off for 7 years, that now I look back and I'm like, God, why did I put myself through that? Because that's what I thought I deserved. And there was someone amazing around me, absolutely amazing, who I could not even think of that way because I did not have the self-worth to believe that I deserved to be treated wonderfully. And now I will never go back because I've healed that stuff. And when you are finally in an amazing relationship with someone who treats you well, you can hold on to it because you believe you're worthy of it. You can attract your soulmate or meet them before you're ready. And if you're not healed, your guidance system will go off. So this is where it has to do with spiritual gifts, is if you haven't healed enough stuff, your guidance system isn't correct. You might get feelings about people, but they're not really coming from your soul. They're coming from your trauma. So you're not able to recognize what's really for you. So the universe is guiding you towards your manifestations. It's guiding you towards your next steps, but you're hearing it backwards. It's like the wires get crossed. So oftentimes you will take a job that's toxic or date someone that's toxic or be afraid to take a risk because you're feeling and you're thinking it's your spiritual gifts is telling you this is the right thing, but the wires are crossed. So the second thing to connect with your spiritual gifts and really hear what the universe is trying to tell you is heal your shit. Heal it. Go into the dark, clear it out so that you know the difference between a yes and a no. It's like knowing what's a yes and a no in your body because, like I said, when you're dealing with trauma, your nervous system is dysregulated. When you're so if you had a very chaotic childhood and you never healed that, chaos is what's going to feel safe for you, and safety is going to feel chaotic. So heal your trauma, heal your shit. My favorite thing, again, this is not for everyone, was plant medicine. That was for me, that's like the college level. There are other ways you can heal your trauma. Breath work, EFT, this thing where people tap on their face, is amazing. Hypnosis, meditation, how many other things? Some people like journaling. Actually, you know what? I went to a journaling event the other night, and I think I've shifted my thoughts on journaling. If you have a clear enough attention, and it was done after hypnosis, and you journal enough, you can get into your subconscious. So yeah, heal what your trauma is, heal your low self-worth feelings, do shadow work to shift all the trauma you have in your life. And that is going to connect you clearer to your channel. So when you're hearing voices, you don't think it's some like crazy ghost. You're able to recognize a yes and a no. And this especially goes with the gift of knowing and feeling, is you're going to know what really is a yes and a no. So those are my 2.5 tips for connecting to your spiritual gifts. First, connect with source, meditate, pray, be in nature, do plant medicine if that's your thing, connect. The second part of that was speak out loud what you need help with. Just speak it out loud, forget about it, look for signs, and you'll start to see the type of signs you get the most. Maybe it's voices in your head, maybe it's dreams. That's the spiritual gift that's stronger for you. Start taking action on what it tells you And action can be letting go of something, saying no to something, setting boundaries. And third is heal your trauma. And you will start to connect with your gifts. You will realize that you're being guided. You'll realize that you are truly loved by the universe and that you're always being guided towards what you want and that we're not alone. That's another thing I saw in mushrooms. Actually, every time I do plant medicine, I really see that we're not alone. And I also have seen that this is a time of spiritual warfare. So the ones of us that are doing the work, like, we're in it. But we're not alone. There's guides always around us. For some reason, I can only see them when I'm on mushrooms because I'm not clairvoyant or in my dreams. But I'm sure they're with me right now. And you can use tools like tarot and, angel cards, but don't get too addicted to them. I also think that can be a trap. Learn to tune more into your gifts of like whether it's knowing things, seeing things, hearing things. Maybe you smell. Maybe you can smell when something's not right. So do those things, connect with your spiritual gifts, and let me know what happens because your gifts, your intuition is guiding you towards your dream life. I promise you. Your higher self is calling you towards it, and it is sending you these messages because time is not linear. Your future self has already been through what you're going through, and it's sending you that in messages, in dreams, in visions, in overheard conversations. It's sending you like, hey, this is the road. I've already walked it. Listen to me. Follow your intuition. You'll get to where you want to go. Follow your gifts. Let me know what happens. Much love.